joined this call. सो थैंक यू सो मच दीप्ति। और मैं दीप्ति के बारे में एक बैकग्राउंड दे देता हूँ। तो दीप्ति हैज़ ग्रेजुएटेड फ्रॉम मैनेट भोपाल in 2018, and she has gained numerous experience. She has worked a lot of in like she has done a lot of internships, and she has also worked for almost year and a half in, and उन्होंने काफ़ी ज़्यादा travel किया, and of course she is a chemical engineer. And post that, she has actually now, since COVID, she is preparing for state civil services examination. And I'm surprised to know when I heard कि ये पिछले 3 या 4 सालों से मेडिटेट कर रही हैं, और इन्होंने काफ़ी लंबे समय से, मतलब she has been towards spirituality. So it's my honor to have my very first guest as Deepti. And again, thank you so much, Deepti, for taking out the time. And yeah, I just want to start this conversation with key, like, tell me about how you actually started this journey, right? कि आपने, आपका क्या ट्रिगर पॉइंट था जहाँ पे यू फेल्ट कि आई एक्चुअली नीड टू गो एंड स्टार्ट मेडिटेटिंग। तो वो क्या ट्रिगर पॉइंट था? सो कैन यू जस्ट ओपन इट अप?
First of all, thank you for the amazing introduction. And more than that, I feel grateful that you have taken this initiative to bring awareness about meditation and spirituality among the young generations. So, big rounds of applause for that. So, regarding your question, what was the triggering point when I started my journey towards meditation and spirituality? So, to be honest, I was always looking for something. There was some certain kind of void inside me, I felt, since I was a kid. So I was searching for something and I didn't know what it was. But I knew something was there. So first of all, as a kid who likes to read, I tried to find that those things in books. So first writer who got me like interested in spirituality and this magical world was Paulo Coelho. I read his book, The Alchemist, The Pilgrimage, Zahir. I almost read all of his books, and he talks about those wonders of world which are intangible, but they make the reality come true. So then I dig more, and I I I researched a bit about how to meditate and how to focus your brain. I researched via YouTube only firstly. So I found out some techniques, but again it was not working. I was not able to grasp it. Then I dig more through books. I went into Taoism. Taoism is a branch of spirituality which is more famous in China. I read it, I tried to understand it. And then again, one person who really impacted me was Eckhart Tolle. I read his book, The Power of Now. And in that, he has like mentioned in true sense what meditation is, what spirituality is, and how a common person like me can achieve it through simple practices. And I was influenced by his idea that whatever suffering we have actually exists in an imaginary world we have created that we call past and a fiction that we have created in our mind that we call future. So if we'll just learn to live in present moment that is now, then in now, in present, none of those suffering exists. So in that book, it teaches us how to keep yourself in the present moment. And then I started observing the kind of blissful state I come into when I'm completely my 100% in the present moment. And I started craving it more and more. And then I somehow heard about this place called Vipassana, and I couldn't stop myself from going there. I I found out as many things as possible where the centers are, how to enroll yourself. And being a girl, I faced initial some resistance from my family too because Vipassana requires you to stay at the place only for 10 days without cell phones, without any external contact.
Correct.
And yeah, so it was a bit difficult for me to convince my parents, but again, the magic worked, and I went there. My parents saw the place, and they were influenced by the people also. The people are great; they are so caring, and they took care of me like a kid for 10 days there. And I learned how to meditate, and I think. I got a tool for life that can save me from any kind of suffering if I'll just focus on it. So that's how I began. Then I
That's
began practicing daily, and I have seen so many changes in me. Earlier, I used to be very. Earlier, I think my mind and my emotions used to control me, and I was not even aware that there is something called me. I used to think my mind is me, but
correct, correct. So generally, like जब लोग start करते हैं तो they think like I am maybe the body, and they feel more towards like body or
yeah,
mind, but
yeah,
but actually it's not either the body or the mind, right? It's the third entity or something called awareness or the consciousness, which we call, right? So
exactly. And I was one of those people who used to think, oh, my mind is me. So I gave too much weightage to my brain, to the thoughts in my brain. I thought thoughts in my brain create my reality, and that is powerful, and that is me, basically. But then I just sat down and thought, if that is me, then who is the one who is thinking about that? And then clicked, okay, my mind is different, me is different. Me is the awareness who is aware of the mind and the body. And so that's where I started seeing those two things separately. And started, my consciousness slowly became powerful than my mind. And I somewhere started keeping my mind in control,
got
keeping
it.
my mind
So
stable.
so basically somewhere or the other you were inspired, I would say, like you were inspired from the Western books maybe, which you read first, and then you came, you went to Vipassana center, and then you actually kind of took the entire course. तो मेरा भी actually experience लगभग similar है. तो not I didn't get it from the books, but हमेशा से like बचपन से I was watching all these things on television, or influenced by my friends or family members, but I never tried it from any Indian sources, right? इतने सारे मतलब we have so many Hindi books, or let's say even the books from authors from India, और बहुत सारे जो लीडर्स हैं या फिर जो स्पिरिचुअल गुरुज हैं जो इंडिया में एक्चुअली हैव बीन टीचिंग अबाउट हाउ टू डू द मेडिटेशन, और ये क्यों इम्पोर्टेंट है. बट द फर्स्ट प्लेस जहाँ से मैंने ये चीज़ पिकअप की थी, दैट वॉज एन ऐप विच वॉज बिल्ड इन US. सो सिमिलर वे, तो मुझे भी लगता है कि कहीं ना कहीं वी एक्चुअली हैव समथिंग लाइक more influence from the things which are coming from the Western world, and lesser from the Indian. But then once we understand कि what we actually have, तो फिर हम वहाँ से हम लोग एक्चुअली वापस पिकअप करते हैं कि हाँ ठीक है, हमारे जो स्पिरिचुअल गुरुज हैं या like what they are teaching, then we go and read about those books, right? Or actually start practicing in those centers. But हाँ definitely मेरा भी सिमिलर एक्सपीरियंस था जहाँ पे मैंने वेस्टर्न, यू कैन से, लाइक आई वॉज इन्फ्लुएंस्ड बाय द वेस्टर्न आइडियोलॉजी की मेडिटेशन क्यों करना चाहिए, पीसफुलनेस, काम, एंड हाउ टू
Mm.
लिव इन द प्रेजेंट मोमेंट. So yeah, I had a similar experience. Yeah.
So yeah, you have put it more accurately. Like we both were influenced by Western culture, and that's the sad truth. There's something that was created in India itself is like diminished from here, and now we are picking it up from the Western world because they are giving it more emphasis than our own people. So yeah, it's a sad, it's a bitter truth, but ultimately that's the reason, especially among the youth. But I'm feeling happy that at least it's coming back in limelight through whatever means. So yeah, as far as mine was also similar. I then again then after all this, after I did Vipassana, then somewhere I started understanding the you know the Gita and whatever was written in it, and I started understanding the depth of those things, which were earlier I quite resisted. Earlier, for my family or for my people. Uh, Being they were more religious than spiritual. So
Correct, correct. So there's
I
very thin line which people
uh,
actually are not able to separate कि spirituality क्या है और religion या फिर religious जो activities होती हैं वहाँ पे एक separation maintain नहीं कर पाते हैं लोग. और आई वुड से कि एक्चुअली चीज़ें दोनों सेम या सिमिलर वे में हैं, बट स्पिरिचुअलिटी इज़ मोर अबाउट आस्किंग द क्वेश्चन ऑफ वाई, और आई वुड से रिलीजन इज़ मोर अबाउट आस्किंग, और नॉट इवन आस्किंग, इट्स लाइक मोर ऑफ
Mm,
बिलीविंग कि जो हमारे बिलीव्स हैं, तो लाइक यू डोंट क्वेश्चन देम, इट्स लाइक यू जस्ट
mm.
keep them as it is. But spirituality mein, it's more like asking as many questions as you can, so that actually you know, feel it much better, or you feel the more clarity in that sense, right?
Yeah. That might be the other reason why Western people or our younger generation is picking up it now, because we are becoming more skeptical with time. We want to question everything.
Exactly.
So we want to know the reason behind everything. So that's why spirituality is picking up its pace again.
True. I totally agree on that part.
Mm.
That we, as we are becoming more and more rational, and since it spirituality relates to that in some sense, or I would say complete sense, and that's the reason more and more youth are now actually, you know, going towards spirituality after they have obviously achieved, you know, something in terms of like scientific sense, or like we can say that they have actually gone to a college, or they started working, and post that they are doing it. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
something.
The major reason people start doing it is because they it also increases your working efficiency, your focus.
True.
And in present scenario there are like too many distractions, so it's so hard to put all your focus and energy into one thing. So meditation is a tool that helps you get there.
Completely agreed on that. So Deepti, my next question is like, how long, you know, have you been doing this, or like what how much time do you devote for practicing, you know, meditation on a daily basis or a weekly basis, right? And from how long you have been doing this?
I tried to learn on my own from that since I went to college like in 2014-15, but I failed miserably on that again. The proper guidance I got from the personal centers how to do it. First time I went there on 2020 October, and I did a 10-day course. And at the routine was we used to do meditation from 4 a.m. in the morning till I think 9:30 to 10 p.m. With
Wow,
lunch breaks
that's
and
really
evening tea.
long. I
That's it.
mean, that's
You
yeah,
only eat, meditate, and sleep there. That's it. So it was, and no, even you are not allowed to talk. You're not allowed to even write. You are not allowed to express in any way out with the outside world. Or you have to sit with yourself for those entire 10 days. So it was a life changing experience for me. I realized so many things. I found it. I finally, had that realization that whatever I told you at the beginning, I was always searching for something. I don't know what
correct,
it was.
correct, yeah.
But there, when I sat there and looked inside myself for 10 days, I realized all the answers are within me. If there is some God, then you are also its creation. You are also its part. If there is universe, then you are also a part of the universe. So whatever is there, you're looking outside is also inside you. So if you just look at yourself with focus and sincerity, you'll find all the answers.
That's I mean, you have put it uh, absolutely on a, I mean, I would say a you have put it very clearly, and it has become very, I think, clear to understand. So दीप्ति, एक्चुअली आपकी क्या एक्सपीरियंसेस हैं सो फार, जो आपने आइदर विपासना कोर्स किया या फिर इवन व्हेन यू मेडिटेटेड ऑन अ डेली बेसिस, तो आपके कुछ ऐसे अलग एक्सपीरियंसेस हैं जो you would want to share what you experienced when you were doing this, right? So sometimes what happens is कि कुछ दिन होते हैं जहाँ पे you actually experience काफ़ी मतलब डेप्थ में you experience things, but sometimes it's just normal, काफ़ी सारे thoughts आ रहे होते हैं, and then you just get distracted. So when you were into that peak, right, or whenever you go to that you know, depth, तो फिर कैसे experience होता है, and what you actually experience at that time?
Um, when I went to, yeah, you have put it correctly. Like sometimes we are distracted. Sometimes it's even hard to focus with so many thoughts.
Exactly, yeah.
So yeah, so when I was the peak of my meditation, I felt like dissolving. To be honest, it was like I know I exist. That I went. There was no me. There was nothing mine.
That's a
I
big,
kind
yeah.
of I kind of felt myself dissolving, like nothing like me exists. I mean, your ego, your sense of self dissolves, and you feel that oneness with the universe. Like, actually, that is the biggest myth this or entire generation of human races face. They think they are a separate identity. They have this I, me, my feeling.
Correct, correct.
So when I was at that peak, I felt that oneness with everything around me, with the space, with the air, with the mat I was sitting on. I felt like it's for me. Just like, you see yourself from real far distance and you realize you're a part of something big. You're not separate from it. I hope I am able
I
to
mean,
explain it.
yeah, yeah. It's very difficult to actually understand.
Yeah,
It's more like a
yeah,
experiential
it's
thing. It's like very
yeah,
hard to just explain verbally. It's
yeah,
more
it's something that cannot be put into words. It's just
exactly.
something you experience.
ओके सो दीप्ति एक्चुअली आप ये बताइए कि एक्चुअली मेडिटेशन क्यों ज़रूरी है अगर लाइक इफ़ समवन इज़ हैविंग क्वेश्चन कि यार मुझे 10-15 मिनट डेली बेसिस पे बैठना है एंड देन इन रिटर्न व्हाट विल आई गेट राइट तो व्हाई इट्स इम्पॉर्टेंट फर्स्ट थिंग एंड हाउ टू गेट स्टार्टेड क्योंकि व्हेन आई स्टार्टेड I cannot tell you how difficult it was for me to just sit for 10-15 minutes. तो ये बहुत ही ज़्यादा डिफ़िकल्ट हो जाता है roaming around watching something for 4 hours 5 hours it's very easy but closing your
Mm.
eyes and shutting up your mouth and sitting up in a place for 10 minutes काफ़ी मतलब it's very difficult and then when you are having a lot of things running on your mind and then when you want to focus on your breaths it becomes extremely difficult and काफ़ी सारे लोग इस चीज़ में they just give it up I mean they just give up कि यार नहीं हो पा रहा है क्योंकि आई एम नॉट एबल टू फोकस ऑन ब्रेथ और या फिर मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा ही थॉट्स आ रहे हैं एंड देन दे जस्ट फील कि ठीक है मे बी इट्स नॉट मेंट फॉर मी मे बी आई एम नॉट डूइंग इट द राइट वे बट मुझे ये लगता है कि जो इसकी स्टार्टिंग होती है एक्चुअली इट्स सेम फॉर एवरी वन दैट आपको काफ़ी सारे थॉट्स आएंगे एंड ऑल यू हैव टू डू इज़ if once you get those thoughts and once you realize that ki there are thoughts which are coming in your mind you just come back and start focusing on your breath so that's what I have understood so far कि it's not about saying कि यार thoughts नहीं आने चाहिए या फिर how can I stop thinking when I'm sitting to breathe rather than that it's more like कि अगर thoughts आ रहे हैं and as soon as you realize कि thoughts मुझे काफ़ी ज़्यादा आ रहे हैं then you say कि okay let me go back to let me refocus again on my breath so that was what I felt and how I started and it took me I think almost 2 to 3 months to actually start focusing on breath so if I'm sitting for 15 minutes I would say कि I think 5 6 या 8 मिनट मैं मेरे मतलब ब्रेथ पे फोकस होता है अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट ऑब्वियसली एवरीवन गेट्स थॉट्स एंड देन दे गेट डिस्ट्रैक्टेड फॉर अ मिनट और टू बट हाउ वाज इट फॉर यू एंड क्या सजेशंस हैं जो अगर completely like new हैं and then they are starting it from all scratch.
Okay. Um, yeah, you said like that everyone faces the same difficulty. Initially, it's so hard to sit, you know, from away from all those restrictions and just focus on breath. So I would say a wise person will say to me that learn from the experiences of others and avoid the mistakes of doing your own. So I would say like there are like many people who have spent years learning the intricate details of the meditation. So if it is possible, whatever teacher you can find who is good at it and who has spent a sufficient, it doesn't have to be professional. You can ask any friend or any relative or anybody who has been doing meditation for a while now to teach you the intricate details because they have went through all those difficulties that you are facing now on by the starting. So seek guidance of any form. If you have nobody, then seek it online, seek it through apps, seek it through reading. Like for me, it was reading books. So, and there is like I am like forever grateful for the personal centers. They provided it's like almost in every like state, and they provided that teaching with with such intricate details of the process that I couldn't find anywhere else. And so for me, it was Vipassana. And there are like more people like that who provide such guidance. So I would say seek guidance of any form from anywhere you can find. And second, be disciplined. If you want to learn something, you have to sit down and do it every day. It doesn't matter for 5 minutes or 1 hour. Just sit and try to do it. And third is like always consistency. You have to. It doesn't matter you sit down for 1 day or 2 days. What matters is you sitting down for those 5 minutes.
Correct, correct. So yeah, again, I can definitely relate to that, what you just said, right? That you need to make it consistent. Similar, I mean, it goes to anything for which you are trying to build an habit for, right? Like be it gym, be it meditation, or be it anything else. तो इसका आई थिंक एक सिंपल फॉर्मूला यही होता है कि यू इवन इफ़ यू आर नॉट हैविंग टाइम यू सिट at least for a minute, or even if it is for 30 seconds, you do it regularly. And over a period of time, maybe 3 months, 6 months, after that it will become a part of your life, और ये आपकी एक complete habit बन जाएगी. And post that you can actually spend 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, right? उसमें then it becomes easier to increase the limit, but it's very difficult to make a habit. And for that, all you need is consistently, sitting on a daily basis, even if it is just for 1 minute or 5 minutes, right? As you rightly said.
And your next question was, why is it important to meditate?
Correct. Yeah.
So, regarding that, I think nothing is more important than our health. And most people ignore, most people when I talk, use the term health. Majority of people only think about their physical health.
Correct.
They don't even consider mental health something. And in fact, it is the most important
Most
thing.
important. Yeah.
It is the mental health that decides your entire physical health. So if your mind is on place, your body, your thoughts, your actions, everything will automatically go into place. So first you should keep your mind calm and mind in place. So for that, like we go to gym to exercise so that our body would work now well, we'll be healthy,
Correct.
we'll look
Yeah.
healthy. We won't be healthy, but we'll look healthy. So in a similar way, meditation, how I see meditation. Of course, I joined it on spiritual because I was curious about spirituality. But after doing it for a long time, I realized it's rather now I see it more as an exercise of my.
Correct.
So you need to do, give your brain, your thoughts also exercise so that they'll work in the way you want them to work. Instead of your mind ruling you, you'll be ruling you. So if you want that, if you want to be the ruler of your own life, you should meditate. There is no other way to control your mind.
Understood. So there's one thing always said for meditation is कि ये आपको focus करने में काफ़ी ज़्यादा help करता है. And that's like parents actually tell their kids to meditate जब वो school में होते हैं, and then teachers say meditate, but hardly actually what I have seen is स्कूल में लोग जब उन्हें बहुत ज़्यादा पढ़ना होता है तो दे डोंट मेडिटेट लाइक इन स्कूल, देन दे डोंट डू इट इन कॉलेज. But when they start working, right, when they have crossed a certain age, then they actually start meditating. And I feel ki at that point of time they are not looking for focus, but more or less they're looking for a state where they're more peaceful or calm, or maybe they are having that uh, stability in mind, right, mental stability. But whenever someone says you should meditate, it's like directly related to focus, right? So can you explain what's that word focus means? I mean, in your perspective, or what you have felt so far, right? तो वो focus का actual मतलब आपको क्या समझ में आया अभी तक?
Like the way I stated, like suffering only exists on future and past. And what is focus? Focus is you are fully present in this present moment. When I use the term focus, I don't mean I'm able to cram something up real fast or solve that
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
problem real fast. Even if we are talking, if my complete attention is in our conversation, that means I'm focused. That means I'm in this present moment. I'm not thinking about something that happened to me 5 years ago or something that's going to happen to me in 5 minutes later.
Correct.
So focus is just another term for living in present moment. And people put it into different set of definitions. But if you really think about what focus is, just you being entirely in this present moment and whatever you're doing.
True.
So meditation helps you bring it.
I completely agree on that, answer. So my last question to you, Deepti, is, how do you define when I say meditate in just a single word? So what is the first word which comes to your mind when I say, people should meditate or meditate?
It has saved my life. That's what comes into my mind.
What was that?
It has saved my life. That's what comes into my mind when I hear the word meditate.
Okay.
Because when I started doing it, I I thought I was as you know I was a bit unhealthy and I didn't know what to do. So then meditation came and it kind of saved my life. And I think it can save so many people's lives. So it's a noble work that you are spreading. Maybe directly or indirectly, it even influence one person doing it. So in some way it can save someone's life.
Got it. So those were my questions, Deepti. Thank you so much for taking out time and joining this late for this, interview. And I would really appreciate if you would join us maybe few weeks later when. So I'm planning to make one more video for Vipassana, how that entire Vipassana course works, right? Or maybe Vipassana center mein jaakar I would want to shoot that video. So I would really request you that if you get time, please join us at that time. And for now, thank you so much again for taking up this time and taking up this call at this time. It is really late at night, so thank you so much for joining this.
Thank you, Sachin, for your initiative. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Deepti. Bye bye.
Bye. Good night.
Good night.